Hollie's Hotspurs, welcome back. Talking Tottenham every week, no better place to be sat. If it's a win, lose, draw, we'll be here for a chat. Best believe we tackle topics like Romero in the back. Young Min Son, what can go wrong when he's on form? It's a dream come true, so sit back, relax and vibe with us. Special guests every time here to discuss. Bring your passion, come along for the ride, and don't forget to subscribe, cause...
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hollie Spurs Live. I'm in the Christmas spirit, but obviously the only two presents we got from Spurs at the weekend were 2 red cards. So we've got a lot to talk about tonight, and to do so I am joined by 2 fabulous guests. First of all, Sip, it's amazing to have you back on the channel, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I was actually just thinking, I think I was last on after the Man City game earlier on in the season, so things were looking good then, and my God, what a difference a couple of months makes.
Yeah, it's not been fun at the moment, but no, it's good to have you on again, Sip. And Ali, it's wonderful to have you back on as well. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, thank you. I was just thinking a few weeks ago I'd never been on, and now this is my 3rd appearance. So yeah, lovely to be back. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you for joining me. Like I say, we've got a 2-1 loss against Liverpool to talk about tonight. But before we get into it, thanks to everybody that's tuning in live, that's liking, that's commenting. Like I say, I do try my very best to try and get your comments on the screen, but I'm really bad at multitasking. So I do apologise, but I do see everybody's comments that come into obviously the channel live. And like I say, if you're watching this afterwards, make sure you get your comments in the section below. But let's kind of jump into it, because obviously a defeat against Liverpool, it wasn't a great one, was it, Sid? I mean, what was your overall thoughts of it from the off?
I mean, Liverpool are a team that even when we're at our best and they're at our worst, we never do well against. Ever since that 4-1 at Wembley, like we've hit the bar. We've had Alisson making like saves of the set. Like we just never really get a result. So even regardless of our current form, it's never like a confident sort of trip. I was just saying I didn't get to watch the game live, but because I was with my family, but watched the game back and obviously enough sort of online discourse to generally grasp the game. And by all accounts, it was like a more spirited display, but like again, it just ends with the same thing. Like, so what real positives can you take from it? So yeah, a lot to discuss.
Yeah, we will definitely go into everything in more detail. But for you as well, Ali, was it the same sort of sentiment? What was your kind of overall feelings on the game?
Yeah, it was a funny one. I think because of what Sips just said, like it I didn't go in with high hopes because I didn't expect to really get a result out of Liverpool, even being at home, because our home record's shocking at the moment anyway. So as a result, I actually thought we started pretty well. I mean, the bar is very low at the moment. I do appreciate that. But relatively speaking, I don't think we were doing that badly. And then the first of the red cards happened.
Yeah, I think that's a frustrating thing. I mean, we've spoken lots on this channel about how we cause our own problems. And it was a shame because I did think kind of what Ali said, Sip, that the way we kind of started the game, I was quite excited to see how the game was going to progress.
Yeah, I've actually seen like Liverpool fans, rival fans saying that if that's 11v11, we'd probably win. And while Liverpool are in one of their biggest slumps, like obviously people say, "Oh, it's just Liverpool who are bad," but again, this is one of our biggest bogey teams that we never see. So if we'd have managed it, it would have been a real boost, not even just points wise, but just sort of morale, because we are clinging on to anything at the moment. So no, it was nice to see, that if we'd have managed to keep 11 players on the pitch, then it could have gone a different way. But unfortunately, we're the orchestrators of our own downfall once again.
Yeah, because obviously with the starting lineup as well, Ali, just to take it back a step, it was interesting to see that we kind of had Bergvall start this one, and that Bentancur-Palhinha kind of duo was kind of disregarded because Bentancur started this one. I mean, for you as well, it was interesting to see how Frank kind of tweaked it to maybe have a more of a attacking kind of force from the off.
Yeah, see, this is where I'm immediately controversial, because what I want to see, I agree with not playing Bentancur and Palhinha together. I do agree with that. I'm not completely insane. But what I would actually prefer to see is Palhinha and Graham Bergvall. I actually think he's better at what we need him to do, which is stopping the opposition, regaining possession, and then sharing it. And I think there's a bit of an agenda against him around not being able to progress the ball. I think that's become some sort of online myth, because if you watch him, he does progress the ball. He doesn't, yes, maybe he doesn't do it as much as like Archie Gray or whatever, but that's why I want to see him playing with those players, because then he can provide that security, which I would argue Bentancur doesn't do. I don't trust Bentancur on the ball as much as I trust Polina. So I'm still a bit frustrated by Bentancur starting, in all honesty, but we'll have to see. Hopefully, at some point, Frank gives that other setup with Polina and Graham Bergvall a chance.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because he does one great thing, Frank, in that kind of sense. But then I think you're right. I think I know there's this like narrative, like you said, of people saying that he doesn't play the ball forward or doesn't necessarily have that passing ability against him. But I'm kind of in the same ilk, Sip. I don't know about you, but I do like Polina in that kind of sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, Paulini has turned into a very divisive figure in terms of our fans this season. But like Ali was saying, defensively, he's better than Bentancur. Like, I'm probably on the same ilk that I'd rather him, because what he gives defensively, he's better at what Bentancur is offensively. Do you know what I mean? Like the difference that he brings up. And if you were to pair him with someone like Archie Gray, who I think when you're coming up against like a tough midfield like Liverpool's, he hasn't quite got that sort of size, stature sort of thing to really put himself amongst it. So partnering him with someone like Paulinho, who you can just say, tackle, feed the ball off. Don't like then that works. So yeah, no, that would be nice. It's just unfortunate, obviously, the Bergvall 10 experiment that keeps happening, unfortunately, isn't proven to. See, I think Archie Gray one day could become a 6, then Bergvall can be the 8. But at the moment, we can't really. Bergvall and Gray are basically playing for the same position, which is tough because Bergvall is not the 10 that Frank wants him to be. But yeah, no. In terms of Paulinho, there is definitely games where he could start. I don't think he's sort of as useless as he's being made out. Yes, he can be very frustrating, but what he does defensively is much better than Bentancur's. I mean, I've seen the replay of that foul that he did. Liverpool fans fuming, and you go, he didn't mean to. It's just stupid. Like it's just what he does sometimes.
No, and I think that's the thing. I think, again, I know we've spoken about this many times on the channel, it's having that headache of midfield, and I still don't think Frank's kind of found that. I thought against Liverpool, it might have been the answer, but I think we all kind of alluded to it probably wasn't the best kind of choice we could have made. But that being said, obviously, we'll talk about the chances, because, Ali, there was one player in this game that had an awful lot of chances, and that is Kolo Muani. And there was that first one, I think it was the ball into the box. I think it was Pedro Porro in, Spence headed it across, then Kolo had that chance to header it. It literally went straight to the keeper. I mean, for you, it's frustrating because, again, it was a prime kind of chance for us to get ahead, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm laughing because I remember shouting at my TV at that moment saying, even Richarlison would have scored that. Like, it just felt like, come on, bruv, how many chances do you need? And I think for me, like the coach in me is like, everyone needs time. But for me, this Kolo Muani experiment is not working. Like, it is just, I need strikers to score goals, and I think I don't know what the issue is. I don't know if he's just getting in his head about it or what it is, but I just find him quite frustrating and painful to watch. The only thing I'd say in his defence is that I think when he's played sort of on the left sometimes and stuff like that, I don't think he wants to be there, and I don't think that's playing to his strengths. So I can understand his frustrations from that. But when he is up front and when he is in those positions in the box and he's not converting, he's not doing himself any favours or us.
No, and that's the thing. I think it was George last week was saying that potentially maybe having him out wide kind of was the plan, because then you'd have Solanke up top. But that's another thing, Sip. Where is Solanke hiding? We haven't heard nothing.
I don't know. I mean, he was back on grass allegedly a couple of weeks ago, and now rumours are coming out that he suffered an even further setback, and you can't really defend it anymore. Like last year, people were starting to dig at him, and I was like, when he played, he was good for us. His pressing was good. His energy, like when he was playing, he was good. And when people were sort of starting to write him off in the summer, I was like, that's a bit much. But bear in mind, he was rested pre-season as a precaution, and it's now nearly the new year, and we still haven't seen a single sniff of him. And that's unfortunately, like, Richarlison's just not good enough. I think we all know that. Kolo Muani hasn't hit the ground running, so we are really, really lacking just some sort of focal point up front. Whatever way we spin it, we just can't get a system to work at the moment.
And I think that's the worrying thing. When we don't know what's going on with Solanke, and with obviously Kolo having these hatful of chances and not managing to put it away, it is concerning, isn't it, Ali?
Yeah, absolutely. And as we know, like in elite football, those chances don't or come along very often, especially the way we're playing at the moment. You know, we're not creating that many. And so we really do need to convert the ones we are creating. And I know we're going to come on to the transfer market a bit later. And I just think that is a position that we absolutely need to go out and spend money on.
Without a doubt. I think it's definitely a gaping hole, in a sense that when you've got players making chances and they can't put the ball in the back of the net, we need to go and fix that, definitely. But obviously we're going to move on, because moments after that, the big thing that happened in the game was obviously that first red card for Xavi Simons. I mean, what did you make of it?
It's stupid, right? And he hasn't hit the ground running, right? And I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes from. And this feels like a very big cop-out. But we saw Virgil do the exact same thing on the back of Solanke's leg last year and not even get a booking. Do you know, like, and that's, I think a lot of fans just across the board just want consistency. And week in, week out, we're not seeing it. We're seeing different results for the same thing. And yeah, really, really frustrating. Obviously, he came out and said, Virgil's his national captain. He'd never mean to hurt him. And I think anyone with common sense would know that he wasn't trying to hurt him. Once you slow it down, it's always going to look worse. Can't really have too many complaints, but I will complain about the consistency that is held up with.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing as well. I mean, to a sense, Ali, I think it was a little bit clumsy from Xavi. There was really no need. I think it was just a frustration because obviously the start of his game didn't go very well for him, I don't think.
Oh yeah, and he'll be the first to admit that he got it wrong. But I think, as Sip said, like there was no malice in there at all. It's like it's his international teammate. Like he knows how he plays, and I think that probably was part of the problem. I think he tried to guess what Van Dijk was going to do with the ball and got it wrong, and ended up scraping the back of his leg. But I think what's interesting is that the ref did initially give a yellow card. And if we'd have stayed with the on-field decision, I think that would have been fair. And this is everyone's grievance with VAR, is that, as Sip said, if you slow something like that down and play it a billion times, it's not going to look any better, is it? Like it's going to look worse every single time. And so, and that was Thomas Franks' issue as well in his post-match interview. He was like, well, actually, the on-field decision was correct, and then VAR have almost bullied the ref into making it a harsher kind of card. And I think I do feel for Xavi, because I think that is also born out of him just desperate to try and make stuff happen. He knows he needs to improve. He knows he hasn't hit the ground running. I think he's doing everything he can behind the scenes. And I like his character. And I think that's the other thing you need to consider. And I think the ref did consider that in his yellow card. And then, as I say, I think VAR have done us no favours there.
No, and I think that was the running theme of the whole game. We could talk about the ref for ages, because there was points, and I know Steve said it in the chat in terms of he was potentially wearing a Liverpool kit for this game. But it is so frustrating, Sip, when we see this week in, week out, and it is normally, obviously, the coin sometimes falls the other side, but it's just the consistency we want as fans.
Yeah, I mean that 2-1 win we got against them a couple of years ago has just been held over us. Like I've seen like Liverpool fans saying like, "Oh, we finally got one back," but obviously fans fail to see sort of the bigger picture. This is something that's going to affect everyone. Do you know what I mean? Like we all get it. We all get the bad decisions. But yeah, I mean, when the game's frustrating, when the club feels the way it does at the moment, things like this are just going to get blown sort of a lot further out of proportion. But essentially, the two players that got sent off did cost us, because it looks like we could have got something out of the game. I mean, I have seen even like Arsenal fans saying that the ref was very poor, and that says enough for me.
Yeah, that definitely does put it into perspective. But obviously, I know we've touched a little bit on Xavi, and there's lots of fans saying that he won't make it at Tottenham. And Ali, again, I think this is just us Spurs nature. We're kind of a little bit fickle, as in if a player doesn't hit a ground running, that's it, they're out the door. And I do see potential in Xavi, I do feel.
Yeah, I think Xavi's a victim of his environment a little bit at the moment, in that it's, he will feel all of that pressure that the whole club is under to perform, and he'll feel it personally, but he'll feel it as part of that unit. And it's really hard coming into like, players get a lot of stick that come from other leagues, but I don't think people appreciate, because like, we're all really spoiled by the Premier League. And because it's our bread and butter and we watch it week in, week out, it's hard sometimes to remove ourselves from that bubble and appreciate just how unforgiving it is. Like, it is relentless. It never stops. You get no time on the ball, and it's just it's just action after action after action. And yes, they're professionals, and yes, they're paid a lot of money to do it, but they're still human beings. And he's moved his whole life over here. He's trying to settle in a new home, new surroundings. I personally want to see him given time, because I think he can be a really fun, creative player for us. See, this is what I don't understand about Spurs fans sometimes, is that, like, we want all the creativity and the fun and the exciting and the attacking and the enjoyment, but we're not really prepared to sort of grow that and encourage it. And I think, like, Spurs at the moment is, I think, tough for everyone, including the fans. And I think we won't survive it unless we do it together. And I think, in a way, and I know Thomas Frank is turning out to be a bit of a divisive figure, but I think that's what he's trying to say to everyone. I think he's trying to, and he hasn't gone about it in the best way. And hopefully, PR people have had a word in his ear about not speaking about whether fans are loyal or not. Hey, don't use that language. But I think, what he's trying to say is, like, we all need to come together, because we all need to support each other through what is a really difficult time.
Definitely. And I think that's the thing as well, because obviously we talk about players all the time coming in necessarily not kind of adapting to life at Spurs, but it's like Ali's kind of said, coming into Spurs at this moment in time, although we've won a trophy, it's all over the gaff, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's one thing I think people are forgetting. Obviously, with rival fans and like poking fun at him, and like, that's sort of fair enough, but it's not as if he's come into like a very settled team and the ball's getting squared across him and he's blasting it over the bar. Do you know what I mean? Coming into a team that is this fractured and being told, right, Son's just left, Kane's gone, you are now the main man. Like, he's 22, and yes, he's had pressure wherever he's gone, but I'm like, that's a huge like task to take on, especially with the summer. Obviously, with Ange leaving, a new manager, this club has probably not felt this divided in quite some time. So to put this all on his shoulders is very unfair, because the whole team's not performing right now, and for him to get singled out, I think is very unfair. Like, we've seen it in games, where he can take over, and when the right players are with him, the sort of link up that he can provide. It's just about finding that system and getting it to work long term, I think, is more the issue.
Yeah, and that is going to be another headache that we need to kind of sort out. But I think in time he will come good. We've just got to be patient. And I know patience is a very difficult word for us, because we've managed to obviously get that trophy off our back. We've got the trophy, but now it just feels like we're even in a worse position than what we were when we won that trophy. So it will be difficult. And obviously going down to 10 men did feel quite difficult as well. But looking at the kind of game in hand, we've already kind of touched on this. We had 15 shots compared to Liverpool's 8 in that kind of time of an hour. So it wasn't horrendous, if that makes sense. And I think that's the most frustrating thing, isn't it, Ali?
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, like, I honestly don't think we were playing that badly at all. I think we were playing better than Liverpool. And Liverpool only started to play properly once Xavi was sent off. And then they were like, oh, well, may as well go for it now. They've only got 10 players. But this is what I'm saying, and I know, like I said, I know it's a low bar at the moment, but I think it's important to take the positives where you can. And I do think you were starting to see signs of some of that link-up play and some of those chances being created, like the one we've talked about from Arne. And, I think there are signs there, and I think it can come together, but we do need to be patient, because sometimes, as much as I love that we won the trophy, it was an anomaly. If we are honest, it was an anomaly. And sometimes I sort of worry that it's sort of, it's increased these delusions of grandeur that some of the fan base have around where we're actually at. And I know I've talked about this before, Holly, but I think it's worth repeating that it really reminds me of when England went into that 2018 World Cup, placed 13th in the world, and everyone would just assume that we would at least get to the semis or at least get to the final. And it's like, what are you basing that on other than your own ego? And I think for us Spurs fans, and I'm at risk of doing a bit of a Thomas Frank here, but that's fine. You can shoot me down in the comments. I don't mind. I think us Spurs fans kind of need a bit of a reality check. We don't have the players that the clubs that win the league have. Like, we don't. We've got some great players, and I think they can be nurtured and molded into something really good. But we're not. We want to be this consistently top 4 team, and we are absolutely not there yet. And I think if Arsenal weren't doing so well, it would be easier for us to be a bit more patient with it and be like, you know what, these things take time. We are a mid-table table team at the moment. Like, if we're honest, we are. That's where we are at the moment. But if you're going to grow something and build it, it does take time. It has taken Arsenal time, and they're still not there yet. And hopefully they won't be there yet come the end of the season. But do you know what I mean? I think that's my main frustration at the moment. I can be patient. And like I said, maybe it is easier for me because I've gone and coached and I've had to build teams myself, and I know it takes time. My main frustration at the moment, to be honest, is with some of the fan base. Like, I just don't, they're living in, like, they're Delulu.
No, it's fair, and I think it is just frustrating with all those things, winning a trophy, obviously then sacking Ange, and I know hindsight is probably a good thing that he's gone, but with that combination of the things of winning a trophy and then going straight back into it, and then getting a manager like Frank that can change things or has been known to change things, and we're not really seeing that sip. And we'll go into the Frank talk now because it'll lead in nicely. It's very difficult, and I do get that as fans, but I also get on the flip side, you've got to be patient. It's a tough balancing act, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Just going back to what Ali was saying a second ago about fans' expectations, I saw on Twitter earlier someone was complaining because Semenyo had turned us down and was entertaining Man United. And I think they said something along the lines of, we just beat these in a European final. I was like, did you think one Europa League was going to put us above Man United in the pecking order? Like, if before the season started, I remember doing a video, I did a TikTok of like every team's pool. And like, it's like, if every team went in for the same player, like we would probably be about 7th or 8th in terms of where we would get them. So there is definitely like suddenly an expectation shift. And I'd say it's probably some of the younger fans who haven't lived through the 17-year wait, like like for me, I'm good for another 10 years. Do you know, like that's fine. I don't care. But yeah, so in terms of Frank, yeah, he is very frustrating, but I think the board are going to stick with him because since the new rebrand of Enoch to the Lewis family, he was their first big call. So they're not going to want to make themselves look bad that their first big appointment had gone wrong within 6 months and they got rid of him. So I think I don't want to use the phrase stuck with him, but I think we've got him regardless for at least this season. So it is about, being patient and giving time. But like Ali's alluded to, he hasn't helped himself with some of the phrases he used. I can imagine the Tottenham PR guy sometimes sits next to him going, oh my God, please just stop. Like when Salah was giving that interview and you could just see the Liverpool social media guy just shaking his head every 5 seconds. So yeah, it's got to take time. It's got to take a few windows. But it's sort of like a two-sided coin. It is going to take a few windows, but there is still players here that could be performing a lot better than we currently are. Both things can be true.
No, definitely hit the nail on the head, and I think that's the biggest thing. I think, yeah, it is difficult because you're frustrating. All of us want Spurs to do well. It's just at the moment, it's just all over the place. You can't really see the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, for you, Ali, obviously sticking like with the Frank kind of topic, it's the interesting thing because obviously we've seen quotes and stuff how Spurs are going down this data analytical driven kind of stance now, and obviously if you've got a player like Frank, that I still don't believe he's probably going to his bravest self, as in playing the way he really truly wants to, personally. But for you, is it stick to him, give him January, and see what happens from there?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm probably in the minority if you did a poll at the moment, but I just want to give him a chance. A, because I want to give him a chance because I think he's a very intelligent manager, and the geek in me is interested to see what he can do given time and given transfer windows. But B, because I do not want to go on the merry-go-round, the managerial merry-go-round again. Like, I'm just, because this is the other thing that frustrates me is, so say you get someone new in, how long does he get before you're all screaming at him as well? Like, it just, we can't keep doing that as a club. Like, it's silly. So, and I think Sip's right, like, the board aren't going to want to just bail on him. Like, because that has financial implications as well, right? So there will I think he'll definitely get a season, unless something catastrophic happens. Unless, say, he gets loads of players in the January transfer window, and then and then we're still 17th or something. I think unless that happens, I think they will stick with him. But I'd like to stick with him as well because, and yes, he is what he loves, an iPad. But it is 2025, everybody. And like, there's lots of managers that were very successful decades ago that if they were managing now would probably be using, because it's about fine margins, right? We hear that all the time in football, and it's true. And those are the things sometimes that give you the winning edge. And he's got a whole team with him doing that as well. It's not, because I heard this criticism the other day of like, oh, like, keep your eyes on the game. And it's like, what do you think they're looking at on the screens? Like, it is the game. Like, they're looking at all the angles and the things that Sky Sports aren't showing you. And, you can't see from your seat in the crowd. Like, they're consuming all of that data. And I know that's not for everyone, but I think I don't know, maybe I'm delusional now, but I just think given time, he could make it work, not just for the short term. I think he could lay some really special foundations, and that's why I'm keen to give him a chance. But that does require patience, and I'm not convinced our fan base has got it.
No, like I say, it is going to be interesting to see what happens, and we'll get on to January chat a bit later on. But yeah, it is going to be interesting to see how us as a fan base kind of continue to steer this, and also, again, what happens in January, because we do, like people are saying in the chat, there does still need to be that kind of overhaul on players, because I still don't think we're at that kind of point. But going back to the game, obviously second half, 56 minutes in, we see that Isaac comes on and he gets the goal. Sip. It was annoying, but for you, not that it was inevitable, but going down to 10 men, they were going to get a goal in the back of the net at some point.
Yeah, I mean, if you asked Tottenham fans before the game who they would bank money on, I mean, this is going to sound bad, but I was like, I'm going to get myself a consolation regardless. So I had Florian Wirtz get a goal or assist in this game because I was like, there's no way we don't give him his first. Whatever player is going, like Dr. Tottenham is an age-old saying, whatever team or player is going through a struggle, that will provide them for it. So yeah, it wasn't a surprise for me whatsoever to see his name flash up that he had scored. Has unfortunately got injured subsequently, which I see a lot of Liverpool fans are angry at, even though Van de Ven was perfectly entitled to go for that challenge. But yeah, just Dr. Tottenham, just giving players the confidence boost they need whenever they need it.
And I think as well, the most frustrating thing I picked from this game, now there's another player that I don't think had a very good game, and that was Romero. For this goal, Ali, he kind of tries to clear the ball long, bounces off the Liverpool player, and they go straight on the counter. I mean, he hasn't had the best of games in this game either.
He's had a shocking game. So it's really interesting because I was furious at that goal, and I was more annoyed about that than the fact that we'd gone down to 10. Because even when we'd gone down to 10, like you say, it's inevitable when you go down to 10 that you'll concede a goal. But is it? Not necessarily. Like sometimes it makes you more focused and more solid. So I actually think we were doing all right. Like Liverpool started to open up a bit more and play properly. Like, welcome to the game, lads. Glad you've realised you're in one. Honestly, they offered nothing in that first half an hour. But anyway, so they started to play. So I guess there was an inevitability that we were going to get more shots like peppered at us. But that mistake from Romero, because it is a mistake, because what he's tried to do is try to thread the ball into midfield, right? Okay, fine. But I think he's almost done it because he's angry with his midfield that there isn't an option. Right, that's fine. You are well within your rights to be angry that there's not an option. And that, again, is something that needs to be worked on. But then you either go long properly or you try and work it around, to the side at the back. You don't just, oh, well, I'm going to kick it there anyway and show all of you midfielders that you should have given me an opportunity, because that's basically what he does. And then you can see he's gone, oh shit, like I shouldn't have done that. And so instead of holding his position, which is what all his training would have told him to do, he's done a Romero and he's then jumped in, which has left all the space. And that's why they've got the goal. And so, and then followed by what he did later in the game. Like, I actually think it was really interesting because after the game, I saw Xavi come out on social media and, like, you can tell he's cut up about it. He's so disappointed. He's apologising to everyone. Maybe Cutie has done that and I just missed it. I don't know. But I'm thinking it's the captain that's let everyone down today. It's not Xavi.
And that's a great point, because I think as well, I was more annoyed at Romero's whole performance in that game, being a captain as well. I mean, we'll jump to it because obviously the yellow to the 2 yellows and obviously the reds that caused him to go off. I mean, it's just been a silly egg. It's just been a silly video. There's no need to do it, is there, Sip?
No, and I think Romero over like the last, I'd say 6 weeks, has really regressed back into being the rash defender that people have labelled him at. And I'm his biggest defender. I've hated when like commentators have called him rash despite not being sent off for like 2 years. But in the last few weeks, he's really started putting some tackles in, and you go, oh, you're lucky. Like there was one. Oh, I can't even remember what game it was. The Brentford game where he came from behind, like sort of scissored round the ball. Did get the ball, don't get me wrong. But, there's just been a couple of them dotted about that I'm like, if one of them goes the other way, you can't have many complaints. So, yeah, it was a real poor showing from him. And I think that is probably just frustration built up within the squad. But believe it or not, getting sent off isn't going to help that. It's not.
No, it's really not. And I think that's the biggest thing as well. I don't know whether it was a combination as well, because obviously prior to that, we had that kind of etiquette goal, Ali, where obviously it looks like etiquette's kind of like jumped on the back of Romero and Romero's gone on the floor. And obviously he's kicked off to say, oh, hang on, that needs to be disallowed. I think I'm not kind of making excuses for him, but it was kind of a build up of all of that frustration in that game.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that there were so many yellows and reds in that game is an indication of poor refereeing, because that means a ref doesn't have control of a game. When they get card happy like that, it's because they haven't got control. So he is absolutely fouled in the build up to that goal. And, I'm not a betting person, but if I was, I would bet some significant amount of money that had it happened the other way round, we would have had that goal ruled out. Like, I can't prove it, but I promise you that's what would have happened. And so I can, again, absolutely understand his frustration there. I think he's unfortunate because he makes physical contact with the ref, and I don't know that he actually means to. And that's what gets him the yellow. Because we see players going up and screaming at refs all the time over decisions. It's because he bumps into him. But I think I don't know that he actually means to. So anyway, so he gets this yellow. And he's well within his rights to be annoyed about that decision because he is absolutely fouled. But and I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, well, if he hadn't got the yellow for that, then then the other yellow wouldn't have mattered." No, because why is he doing that in the first place? Why is he kicking out in a player's stomach? Like, when he's
won
already
the foul as
like
well.
the ref's already blown the whistle. You've got a free kick. Like, that it's happened. Like, you don't, and I think this is the thing with players like Romero is you don't want to coach that out of them, because we want that passion and sometimes we want that aggression. Like, sometimes I've watched Spurs teams in the past and thought, actually, I want you to be a bit scumbaggy. Like, you need that in games like that sometimes, but you've got to be smart with it. Like, and I just think Romero was an idiot. He was just an idiot in that game. He wasn't, like, you can use all of that physicality, but you've got to channel it intelligently. And also, this is now an age where there are all these cameras everywhere, and there are slow-mo replays, and there's even a little television screen on the side of the pitch for the ref to go and have a good old look at. So, like, don't be stupid. Just be smart with it. Channel it properly.
I think it was the timing as well. There was like 3 minutes left. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for me, and he's our captain, which also infuriated me. So yeah, the kind of hate that Xavi's got, I wish people would look across to the captain that's been an absolute silly Billy egg in that game. But obviously there was a little bit of happiness because obviously we saw Richarlison get on the score sheet. So, I mean, when you see Richarlison score, it's kind of like, oh my words, this is really where we're at to at the moment. And bless him, he got the goal, fair enough.
He
But
did, but I think he's the world's best consolation goal scorer ever. Of all, like, give him a chance when it's 0-0 and it will actually mean something. Fluffs it when we're 2-0 down, looking for a consolation. Yeah, don't worry. And similar to Romero with the passion, but then he stands up and gets in Szoboszlai's face, and I'm like, brother, they've got to hold on for like 90 seconds and they win the game. Do you know, like, but again, you don't want to coach out of him. It's just who he is, and that's what gives him, because he was like a man possessed when he came on, and fair play. But yeah, just Richarlison being Richarlison, his goal stats are unbelievable. I would just love to know how many of them have actually equated to a win. that's my big question.
that is a very, very good question. I mean, as well, you see him in the. I don't know who was on the goal line, but he's literally got him in the chokehold on the floor as well. Eh?
I know, well, which was interesting, right? Because we talk about VAR and slow motion replays, and he could have gone for that. Like, and I think the ref just by that point was just like, "Oh my god, get me home." But Richarlison, you're absolutely right, Sip. Like, as soon as you see him on the score sheet, you're like, oh, another pointless goal. Like, it's just, bless him. But he loves to come on, and he's a proper, like, grab the ball out the goal and run back to the centre circle merchant, isn't he? He's like, yeah, we can do it, lads. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I just overall was just really frustrated with that game, because I actually think we could have won it, but it was just silliness. And the ref was biased. Like, we didn't help ourselves, but the ref was having a laugh.
He really was, and I think that's the most annoying thing, because like we said, we've spoken about the card or the sending off of Romero already, but with the time of Richarlison scoring that goal, we were on the up, and I think that's another thing that ticks me off, just because then, well, what are you doing? There's no way we're coming back from this now. But yeah, it wasn't a great day in the office, that to be said, and like I said, I'm glad that one kind of is in the bin, so to speak, and we can kind of hopefully look forward to the games that are coming up, and that obviously is being Palace that's up next on the 28th. So we've got to get through Christmas first, which is lovely. But for you, Sip, obviously playing Palace away from home, how are you kind of feeling?
Well, it was interesting. You said hopefully we can look forward to the next game. And I thought, I don't know if you know who the next game is. Like, Palace away without Romero. Obviously, Xavi isn't the most inconsequential player to not have at the moment, unfortunately. But I mean, Palace are in a little bit of a slump of form. But I go back to the Tottenham thing again. If there's ever a team you want to play when you're not in form, it's us. And I'm pretty sure it's like it's an evening game, probably 7:30, 8 o'clock kickoff under the lights at Selhurst Park. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, we could maybe get a result, but my overall feeling wouldn't be very positive.
No, I think this is the most concerning thing. I'm just glad that I can enjoy Christmas a little bit happier now. This game is out of the way, and obviously that Palace game is after Christmas. But for you, Ali, how do you kind of feel going into this one?
Yeah, very similar, to be honest. It's a bit. I would quite like to see my Polina Gray combo, please, for Christmas, please, Frank. That's what I'd like. But other than that, like, there's not really, for me personally, there's not much to look forward to, because you just don't know what you're going to get at the moment, and it's that inconsistency that has plagued us. In fairness to Frank, that's plagued us for quite some time now, and that's also part of the argument around sticking with someone and giving them a bit of time, because you can't build consistency if you as a club, you can't build it if you keep changing the manager every 2-3 seasons. Like, that's inconsistent in itself. So, but yeah, I think because we never know what we're going to get, sometimes that all in a weird way makes me like enjoy it a bit more, because I sort of go in with like low expectations around what we're going to get out of it.
And I think that's the thing as well, because obviously I was looking back. Obviously, I know you should never do comparisons between managers and stuff, but we all do it as fans. And obviously this time last season, we had where is it? So at the moment we've got 22 points after our first 16 games. Last year we were on 30 points with Ange. I mean that it's not worrying, but it is worrying because obviously we started okay last season and then it hit a nosedive. I feel like at the moment we started okay. We're in that kind of a dip sip. I'm hoping we're gonna come out at January if we do manage to stick with Frank.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of the story of Tottenham. You're always just hoping for it to get better in some way. Do you know, like it's never too good for. Like I was watching the Villa game yesterday. I think that's 10 wins on the bounce for them. Can you give me half of that, and I'll be set? Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, in terms of Tottenham fans, I think fans just want a little bit of something consistent to go by. Do you know, like it is, and I think that's where a lot of the frustration is coming from in terms of how unpredictable we are. That you don't know what you're going to get, but you can be pretty certain it's not going to be very good. But if there was like a clear sort of strategy and plan in place, fans go, all right, at least we can get behind this. But I think it's just how much it's all changing at the moment because I don't think he knows his best 11 yet still. So I think that's where a lot of the sort of upset is coming from, just the unpredictability, especially in the performances.
And now to add another spanner in the works, we've lost obviously 2 players to now mix up even more headaches for him. So yeah, it will be an interesting kind of early start to 2026. But obviously we do have the transfer window within that kind of start to the year. So Ali, I'll come to you. I know you mentioned it earlier, obviously of that striker kind of position. What else do you want Spurs to potentially go and do? And if you've got any names that you could potentially think of?
Striker, left wing, left back. And I would throw a goalkeeper in there, not to replace Vicario. Everyone calm down, everyone calm down. Not to replace Vicario, but to provide him with proper training partner and competition for his spot. Because I think that's part of Vicario's struggle psychologically, is that he knows he's playing. And I think he just gets a bit in his head about stuff, and then we see like almost just to entertain himself he's like, oh, I'm just going to do that now. Crazy. So I think someone to almost keep him grounded, if that makes sense, and like on his toes and all those other cliches, just like keep him focused on the job at hand. So but that is not my priority. My priority is a striker, and then I'd go in that order, to be honest: striker, left wing, left back.
Great shout.
Names. You know what? Off the top of my head, I can't think, but I have just written about this for BBC Sport, and that will be out tomorrow. So the names will be in there. But to be honest, I'm not. This is something I'm worst at as a fan because I don't watch all of this. I'm one of those. Get them in the shirt. And then this is why all the Ezra stuff, I was like, well, he was never in the shirt, was he? Apart from your silly graphics that you've created online, he was never in the shirt. So I'm very much like, I don't really watch the market. I don't know who these players are, if that makes sense, until they're ours. And then I'll find out stuff about them. But so yeah, I think those are the positions though, definitely that we need to sort out.
I'm glad I'm not the only one because I ain't got a clue until I see them in the shirt. So thank you for making sure that I am sane as well in terms of not going out to do my research and stuff. But for you, Sip, as well, are you on the same kind of boat? Is it striker? Is it that left side? What is it for you?
Yeah, I mean, striker's always got to be one. I think the left wing is possibly the biggest, just because at the start of the season, Kudus was flying. Then teams realised that if they triple up on him very quickly, we haven't really got much else. You know what I mean? It was a very lopsided attack. Similar to what Ali was saying, though, in terms of players. Sometimes a random name will come out of like some French League Two player and everyone's got an opinion on him. And I'm like, I don't know how you all have this much time to know every single player. Like I'm seeing like full reports on players. I'm like, my God. So I'm very similar nowadays. Like I'd like to think I've got a fairly good grip of world football, but some people are just incredibly dedicated. So fair play. But that left back spot is also a massive one because Destiny Udogie, as much as I love him, is not very reliable. And while Jed Spence, I think, has been quite good in these last few weeks, I think he's just sort of stopped caring. He's like, right, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. We know long term that he's not the left back backup due to obviously being right footed. So the left back one is very important. But yeah, for me, that left wing spot has got to be one. I mean, we've already been turned down by Semenyo, which is fine, frustrating. But this window, which I'm sure we'll go into, is the first time that the rebranded ENIC family can really show what they're meant to do. Because obviously there was that sale for the American guy a couple months ago who had pledged, to put a whole billion aside just for players. If you're going to turn that down, and then in 6 months' time, Tottenham fans are still going to be watching us, monitoring, keeping tabs on, investigating, stalking, I don't know, then fans are going to have a real problem. So while obviously when it comes to Frank and that we have to be patient, this board haven't got that this board haven't got that in the bank. So they need to attack this market. And I'm talking sort of first week or two. I don't want to see, Harvey Elliott on the 27th. Do you know what I mean? This needs to be a real proactive team effort from everyone involved. Otherwise, it's just going to be much of the same.
And that's the thing, obviously, with the what was it, a couple of months ago, we had obviously Lange, we had Don Fabio, obviously about the fact that they were going to be working together on this project, being the directors of football. But obviously, rumours have come out the last couple of days, and obviously, with all good thing rumours, you don't know whether they're true or not. But Ali, it's quite worrying with the transfer window right round the corner that Fabio Paratici could potentially be going out the door to Florentina because he's not being allowed to bring in a certain someone to help him with obviously scouting kind of business. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but that's what I had in my head. So for you, Ali, do you think there's any substance in this rumour? Do you think it's just kind of noise? What your kind of stance on it?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if I don't really know the players, I'm not going to know what's going on in that world either. Like, I don't know is the honest answer, and I'm very comfortable saying what I don't know. But I think what's interesting about that, though, is it is symptomatic of this wider issue that we have behind the scenes at Spurs at the moment. And this is what I'm talking about, this very fractious sort of like, what's going on? What do we know what we're going to get? That is all part of this environment at the moment. And I think that's what you're seeing in our performances on the pitch, is just this whole environment of no one seems to be quite sure what's going on with various points of the business. And I think just to pick up on something that was said earlier as well, and just keep an eye on the chat, I think Frank probably does know his best 11. They're just not fit. So he can't play them. And so I think like that's where, and it's not an excuse, it's just that's the reality. Like he can't play players if they're injured. But I think what he can do is get the best out of the ones that are available. But that's where then as fans, we have to be patient because the ones that are available aren't the best players. Like, let's just be honest. So I also think, so whether Paratici leaves or stays or whatever, the point of business for Spurs is to spend wisely. And that doesn't necessarily need blockbuster signings, right? Because actually, if you look at like a couple of our most recent signings that have been brilliant for us, like Van der Ven and Kulusevski, did not break the bank at all. And they're fabulous. So I think that's the other thing. We're not going to be able to compete against the Cities and the Arsenals and this lot to get these big players. We just need Tottenham players. We need players that are going to fit what Frank wants to do. And I think that's the other reason why this transfer window is so interesting, because it offers us an insight into what his plans are, which is what we're also desperate to understand as fans.
Yeah, because like we've said this whole time, as much as obviously where we are with Frank, we aren't necessarily seeing the best from him because I don't think he's been brave enough. But it might be because he hasn't had that plan of those players that he wants to utilise, which again goes back to January Sip. Obviously with the whole talk about Paratici and stuff, it's given me a little bit of warning signs because Fabio was the man to kind of get those initial players through the door. And for me, with him's name potentially being like, no, I'm leaving now, are we going to find those gems?
Yeah, I mean, I would caveat that with that he did get us some stinkers. Like it wasn't 100% hit rate with him, but I think similar to what Ali was saying in terms of the systemic issue at Tottenham, I think because Daniel Levy controlled literally everything, I think the Lewis family have now gone, oh my God, there is just so much going on. And that's not me trying to compliment Daniel Levy, but just in terms of how much he did and the fact that everything was ran by him. Now there's probably departments they didn't even know existed that now need, leadership. Obviously, David Ornstein said last week we're in advanced talks with, I think, Man City's director of football, to come and take over, which could be a good sign. The thing with when it comes to like board members, I think fans sort of make them into superheroes. You know what I mean? Rather than just people doing their job. Do you know what I mean? They give them all this praise and whatnot, and I'm like, let's just wait and see, especially with this window. Similar to what Ali was just saying in terms of we don't need blockbuster signings like Jarrod Bowen leaving Hull, Eze leaving QPR, Wharton leaving Blackburn. All players that we were linked with and the fans turned their nose up at, and all now cost in the region of 100 mil. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be. I don't need Mbappe. Do you know what I mean? But just be smart about it. And when say we are going for a player and another team is coming in, just put that bit more money down. Do you know what I mean? We've got that money to spend, and I think that's been a lot of fans' issues over the years. I'm not saying like offer someone like 300k a week. It doesn't have to be that, but we have missed out on many players by lowballing and playing, Levy stupid games. The amount of club owners, directors who have come out saying they've had nightmares about negotiating with him, which in turn harmed us a lot because then no club wanted to do us a favour when it came to future sales. So it's a very big window for the Lewis family to show their intent and, give an indication of what we're going to be like going forward under this quote-unquote new ownership.
Yeah, fingers crossed that things are not going to be history repeating itself. I think, like you guys have both said, there needs to be intent, needs to fly in some players that necessarily don't cost the earth, but are right for Spurs and right for Frank in the means of things. He's the manager at the helm at the minute, and we need to back him in that kind of. And I hope January is the time, because we do need to kind of push on, which kind of leads us on before we kind of go to kind of say what we hope for towards the end of the season, and potentially maybe even further beyond, because obviously this won't be the last show of 2025, but we are nearing the end, so it'd be nice to see what everybody thinks or their hopes for 2026. But Ali, I'll come to you first. What are your hopes and kind of dreams for 2026 in a Spurs world?
I mean, I think at the beginning, because I'm always asked this for BBC, and at the beginning of the season, I think I was like, yeah, I reckon like 5th. We could finish about 5th. Yeah. I'd say top 10. Top 10 would be good. I do think, though, like, I am forever hopeful that we will see an upturn, like, from the spring onwards. And, certain players will start to come back. We'll sign players. Hopefully, we'll also offload some deadwood. Because I think that's significant in a transfer window as well, not just what you acquire, but what you ship out. And we can start to see Frank be a bit braver, perhaps, and kind of work with what he wants to work with rather than what, he's inherited. I know he did also get some players in that he wanted as well, but by and large, he's got a lot of players that he had no say over. So, yeah, I am hopeful for 2026, but that's also because me as a person, like, if you're not going to be hopeful about it, you may as well not watch it. So come on, you Spurs.
Love that. No, 100%. And for you as well, Sip, what's your kind of aspirations as well for 2026?
Oh, God. I mean, at the start of the season, you would have said, around the top 6 spot because new manager coming in. But at the moment, just any sort of European place. Obviously, I'm not pining for the Conference League, but a club of our stature should be in some sort of European competition. Similar to what Ali just said about as well, coming up with the transfer window, we need to be better at getting players out. And obviously, the one at the moment that's the hot topic is Brennan Johnson. We'll forever idolise him. Will always be a hero. But if we can get sort of 20, 30 mil back, these are the sort of deals we've never been good at under Levy, to the point that if Levy was still here, he probably goes in a free in 10 years. Do you know what I mean? If someone like Palace wants to come and give decent money, because we probably overpaid in the start, so you're not going to get your value back, but just get a decent feedback. So that's very important. Come the end of the season, I'd bite your hand off for a top 6, and that's being very generous. But let's just say January goes well. Kulusevski comes back in the fold. Solanke gets released from whatever prison he's being kept at, and just give us a bit of hope. I've always said Tottenham fans, we don't expect the world. Like when it comes to the losses against PSG and Arsenal, we're fine. Just give us something to get behind. Just put in some effort.
Preach, 100%. I was going to say as well, that Liverpool game felt more like I had more passion in that Liverpool game than we did in the North London derby, and I think that also upset me as well. So yeah, like you say, we need to have something to get behind come the new year, and hopefully we will get that with the transfer window hopefully helping us along a little bit more and players coming back. But it's been a lovely evening tonight to sit down with you to obviously dissect everything that did go wrong in that game against Liverpool. But there was some slight glimmers of hope here and there. So we'll go around the table, we'll say our goodbyes. So Sip, thank you once again for coming on. Where can everybody find you doing your thing?
SipSpurs on TikTok and YouTube where I post mostly. I mean TikTok more than YouTube, but yeah, that's pretty much me. And thank you for having me on. Sorry.
No, that's all good. No, thank you, Sip. Like I say, make sure you go check out Sip stuff as well. And Ali, it was amazing to have you on too. Where can everybody find you doing your thing?
Thank you, Hollie. Yeah, Coach Ali on Instagram and TikTok.
Lovely, jubbly. So make sure you go check out both of them on all of their platforms and where they are. And like I say, thank you to everybody that's tuned in tonight, that's rewatching this, that's liked, that's subscribed, all that good stuff. Like I say, this isn't the last one of 2025. Sorry, Jesus, I jumped ahead then. This isn't the last one of the kind of year. We will be back on the Sunday after the Crystal Palace game. But until then, I kind of leaves us to say, hope everybody has a very Merry Christmas. We are Spurs free for once this Christmas time. So hope everybody has a good one. And like I say, until next time, come on you Spurs.
Come on.